All right. I would like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. If we could stand for the pledge.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the May Committee of the Whole meeting for Community High School District 94 Board of Education. Mission statement, please.
Community High School strives to promote and provide growth experiences in learning, leadership, and living.
Thank you, Rich. Board agreements, please.
Board member expectations. Board members will assume positive intent. Board members will treat each other with respect and be open and honest with each other and with the superintendent. Board members will speak professionally and keep discussions at board meetings relevant and focused.
All right. Thank you for that, Lynn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Ms. Casey Mayer.
Here.
Ms. Doremus.
Present.
Ms. Munoz.
Here.
Mr. Nagel. Mr. Sake.
Present.
Mr. Zuniga.
Here.
All right. That brings us to public participation. We have received no electronic public participation, and I do not see any public here to participate. So we will move to reports and information, miscellaneous wages 2023 to 2024.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I did print out a copy of the information that was provided in your packet. Essentially, just wanted to share with you a few recommended updates to miscellaneous wages for 2023 to 2024. The first of those changes you can see under the daily substitute. Last year, this board approved a change to the structure to essentially honor the time that our valued substitutes put into serving more days within the school district. And so substitute teachers this year for the first time started at $26 per period. After 15 days of service, moved to $28 per period, and then after 30 or more days of service, moved to $30 per period. In order to continue to honor those subs who are really putting in that time and providing a lot of service to our district, the recommended change you can see in red is that substitute teachers with 30 or more days of service in the previous school year would automatically begin at the highest pay rate for the next school year. So in other words, if you are one of our frequent subs who is always here, rather than dropping down to $26 to start the new school year, they start right off at that same rate of $30 again per period. Anyone who didn't reach the 30 days or more of service would start again at $26 per period per this recommendation. In the middle here, you can see a few regular updates, both to go along with the new minimum wage, as well as you can see the long-term substitute rate increased per day based on the new BA0 Step 1 salary. The next major change would be down below, event workers. You can see that we added 3 separate categories here. These are 3 areas that we just didn't have a mechanism to be able to pay out, but they are just regular event work. So you can see that Scholastic Bowl reader per event, math contest judge per event, and speech contest judge, again, per day. You'll note that a speech contest is a very long, full day event, and so that's why there's a difference there of $120 versus what you see of $45 up to $55 for all the other event workers. The final sort of minor change, but important to at least one individual, is our accompanist. That rate had not changed since at least the 15-16 school year, and so we wanted to make sure to increase that. Again, that's a specialized area, and now you can see that at least matches our minimum sub rate per period. Just want to open up for any discussion or any questions. And then the plan would be to bring this to the board for approval at the regular May board meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that update. That brings us to School Links contract.
The use of an online platform for students to navigate college and career readiness and opportunities is nothing new. It's been going on for quite a while. We currently use a platform called Naviance, but our counseling department, through a lot of research and comparison, is looking to make the switch from Naviance to School Links. I've invited the head of our counseling division, Keely Hanley-Anschel, here to review some of the comparisons to justify those that recommendation and change. So I'll turn it over to her.
Hi, everyone. I am Keely Hanley-Anschel, the division head of counseling here. And I have worked with Naviance for about 11 years, sometime previous to West Chicago Community High School starting to use it in 2018. And I've had some experience seeing it not really develop much over the years, and some things that were originally promised not happening. Sort of overall, it is not terribly user-friendly for our students. A lot of them struggle signing in and navigating around the system. So we started thinking about looking at other options when we knew our contract with Naviance was going to be up this year. So we met with School Links, and they gave us a overview of their program, and then they gave all of us, the counselors and the registrar and myself, some sample sign-ins. So we could sign in as staff and students and play around with the system a little bit. And we all really liked it. It's really user-friendly. It's up to date. It has some areas that Naviance doesn't have. And I'll go over some of that now. So the career planning section has always been a little bit of a concern for me with Naviance because it focuses more on college than careers. And all of our students will someday have a career, whether they go to a four-year college, a community college, trade school, et cetera. So we want them to start sort of investigating their interests very early so that at their time here, they can slowly develop some areas that make sense for them. And they understand the training that goes along with it, and they can work in partnership with their parents and their counselors and their teachers to develop a plan for themselves when they're walking across the stage for graduation. They have that all kind of tied up. We know that sometimes there's changes, but the better planned they are, the more successful they'll be in the future. So School Links has 10 career assessments and activities, where Naviance has 4. And then self-discovery activities, they have close to the same, 5 and 4. School Links has now updated career pathway information and has a really easy way for students to access career pathway information where Naviance does not. There's also assistance in finding local jobs in the area. It's connected with Indeed on School Links. They can find jobs for themselves right now, and they can also look at careers they might be interested in and see how many opportunities there are in the area and what the salaries are and the qualifications. And that's something we can guide them through as well. And there's also a virtual career mentorship with a lot of videos about different careers, and they can also anonymously, like they won't know who the student is, ask questions about careers and get answers from people within those careers. Yeah, go ahead. Thanks. And then in terms of college planning, they're very similar in the college planning tools. They both have about 4 of them. School Links also has a FAFSA completion tracking system, which is great because Illinois now requires that students complete the FAFSA or sign off that they're not completing the FAFSA in order to graduate. The college searches and comparisons, both systems have that, where they can search up to 4 colleges and community colleges and trade schools and compare them side by side in terms of cost, majors, and what's offered there. School Links has a virtual reality campus tour. So if students are interested in a school that is far away and they can't necessarily make that trip, there are virtual campus tours of a lot of schools out there, so they can kind of see a bird's eye view of the campus, classrooms, dorms, et cetera. And there's also, once a student knows what their award might be through FAFSA, they can enter it at different colleges. There's a cost calculator because the ticket price that you see on a website is not usually what a student will pay. So they can kind of figure out what they might pay based on their need and also their academic abilities and what scholarships they may be able to qualify for. Thanks. And then in terms of academic planning throughout high school, School Links has about 6 academic planning activities so that they can look at courses that would match their interest level and things that they're looking at. Naviance has one. We can sync our course catalog up with School Links so that students can search our course catalog on School Links. They can see what the prerequisites are for certain courses. They can see the different electives that we offer. Naviance doesn't have that right now. They can, there's four-year planning activities for both systems, and School Links has worked really hard because they have a lot of customers in Illinois to develop the district career pathways, since Illinois, ISB will be requiring that of Illinois schools in the next couple of years. So we can enter all of our district career pathways on here, and students can explore through that as well. And then some other features is there, I went on as a student, and the student onboarding activities are really cool. They go through a very short social emotional assessment, a very short learning style assessment, and a very short interest inventory, and then they take them all around the site to teach them the site before they can use it for any, or we can use it with them for any larger assessments. It translates into many languages, so I think at least 20 languages. This is really important for a lot of our newcomers. It will translate into Spanish, Arabic, Ukrainian, a lot of the other languages that we've been seeing recently within our school. And it also, even families and students that are fluent in English but feel more comfortable with Spanish or Arabic or Ukrainian or another language, can translate the whole site into that language. I think that's really an important tool for any school. And then it has social emotional programming, which Naviance doesn't have, so a bunch of social emotional sort of inventories, which sort of show them their social emotional strengths, shows them how to develop some of those. There's a little quick check-in when they sign in that goes to counselors. How are you feeling today? How does your body feel? How much stress are you feeling? Which counselors can access and follow up with kids that may be struggling. We can publish all of our counseling evening events, and it will pop up immediately when an event's coming up when we have kids sign in or kids sign in on their own. And there's also military planning, so we can have our military recruiters' information on there. There's lists of questions they should ask recruiters, types of jobs within the military they can research. So we haven't seen that yet on another system. Are there any questions for me?
I have a
Oh,
question.
price differential, sorry, that's sort of the important piece.
Nothing's free.
I was gonna,
On the social emotional, where you say they can answer questions and
Mm-hmm.
enter information, would that red flag something for a counselor to see then?
Yes.
So based on how they answer, so they wouldn't necessarily have to go to you, but you would know to go to them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
so there's kind of like a dashboard for each counselor, and all their kids pop up that have recently been on there and what they have recently done. So there is a red flag for social emotional needs. Also tells us what they've looked at in terms of their interests for career, for learning styles, college.
Are the features that School Links has, that Naviance has, are similar enough that students will be able to migrate without a whole lot of learning? And obviously, the new things will be new to everybody, but the stuff that they're used to doing in Naviance, is that going to be a fairly easy migration?
Yes, it will be an easy migration, and they will also pull all the student data from assessments that they've done on Naviance in to School Links.
So the students will be introduced to this during den time or some at the beginning of the year so that they are able to get right into it?
Yes. We'll introduce it to them in the beginning of the year through DEN.
Do parents have any?
They do.
I'm sorry, what depth of information are they able to access?
The parents will be able to see the college and career searches, and will be able to work with their students on that.
Thank you.
And as far as a parent component, like what would you think would be the experience for a parent who, let's say, isn't necessarily tech savvy or doesn't have the knowledge of like how to navigate the system? Like, how do you feel, how difficult would it be for a student to have to kind of navigate that process? Or even like specifically the FAFSA. It's a really complicated application, so is it on the student to kind of walk their parents through the whole process? Like, What do you feel that's going to look like?
Well, the system, that's what I really love about it, is that it's really user-friendly. Like, it's almost hard not to find what you want to find because there's a lot of pop-ups. FAFSA, we'll just do the tracking of FAFSA on here, how far along the kids are, if they've completed it. We'll still have our parent FAFSA night in the fall, and we did a second in the spring this year, where we bring in college reps and ISAC and a variety of, all of our counselors and a variety of people to help families do FAFSA. Supposedly, FAFSA's becoming much more simple this year. That's why it's not opening till December. But still, we would like to have
Believe it when we see it.
professionals help our families do it.
And then that portal is available for like a parent to sign in whenever they want to, and they would sign up based like through registration, or are they kind of just, is it available to them only through their child?
No, they will give us parent sign-ins too, so I'm gonna have to see through their training if we agree to sign on with them, how that's gonna work.
Is there an opportunity or an advantage for this to be available to eighth graders as they're coming into the school, or set up that only once they get here, they're able to start looking into these things?
The contract is for our students here at the school.
Starting the first day of school?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there a module available that is, I mean, are there districts that are using this at the eighth grade level as well?
There is a middle school module as well, and I think that's primarily used by consolidated districts, but I could find out if we could somehow towards the end of eighth grade get the kids going on it.
I guess it might be worth knowing.
Yeah,
We're having a discussion with those other districts, too.
Right.
Hey, one more question. You said that the Naviance system was maybe a little bit difficult for students to navigate currently. Do you anticipate, or how would you foresee that the students would navigate the system? Do you feel like it's, I know you're saying it's user friendly and, easy to navigate, but I guess I feel like sometimes certain students can navigate technology a lot better than other students, and also too, does literacy factor into all of that? How do you anticipate like that?
Yeah,
level
I
of
think as always, we'll
experience?
do a lot of lessons with the kids, but if they want to work on their own, I feel like they can really get around the system because so much just pops up for them, where Naviance, they had to kind of really search around to look for what they were finding. But of course, we'll be doing our DEN lessons with them to really get them familiar with the system. And I do really, some kids are much more tech savvy than others, and a lot of them can teach us some things about these systems also. But I do also like the language translation because I think that'll help quite a bit too with some of our students. So right now, it's really tough for us to use Naviance with the EL kids.
Any other vendors provide a product like this besides school things and Naviance?
There's quite a few out there. I would say not as, I talked to a few systems and they're just not as intensive in terms of providing the same amount in college and career. And that's really what I was looking for because like I said early on, they're all going to have a career someday. And I want us to really prepare them for that piece. A lot of these systems are geared way more just to like getting yourself into four-year college.
Do we know if there's other districts in the area that are using this?
I know my son's district uses it, and they did give me a list of Illinois. They're really, they said Illinois is their second most used state or user-friendly state. Or
I was just curious if
Yeah.
we contacted those other districts. to see
Yeah,
what their
I actually,
experience-
this is what made me contact them, to be honest. I went to a presentation at my son's school when he was a freshman last year from their counselors, and they were walking us through School Links because they use School Links, and I was like, wow, I like this. So then I researched it a little bit more, knowing that our Naviance contract was coming up.
I believe also our neighboring district of Glenbard 87 is migrating over as well.
Question.
Sure.
So as far as the translation goes, I know that a lot of, like, for example, Google, right, doesn't always translate things the way that you would say them and how to interpret them, and or even with accuracy. So I would be interested to see, could they provide us maybe like a translation of something that a child may be accessing? Because again, with the different Spanish dialects, I'm just wondering what that's going to look like and if it's going to be meaningful to the demographic that we serve, because a lot of the times the verbiage is completely different.
I could ask our rep to provide us with that. We have 2 Spanish-speaking counselors, so they could go through that.
Perfect.
So are we looking at this being brought for approval in the May meeting, or
So
what's the
the
timeframe?
plan would be, and you have behind you a cost breakdown. I do want to point out real quickly on the cost breakdown, because we have not approached Naviance about new pricing, and our current pricing model is 5 years old, it would likely increase significantly, but we didn't reach out to them since we don't plan to go with them again. So that would be the pricing model on the left, and we would plan to bring that to you at the next board meeting.
And you're looking at actually having this up and running for the start of fall?
That's the plan.
It's an impressive package, impressive package.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, that brings us to BSN revised contract.
Thank you. So BSN provides team uniforms, team shops, along with other athletic equipment and apparel. And considering the rebates and discounts that we currently receive, many other departments and clubs utilize BSN for various purchases. So due to student preference, we are presenting a revised contract noting Nike as the preferred supplier instead of Under Armour. So this is basically just a preference change to Nike instead of Under Armour. The rest of the BSN contract is pretty similar. And the plan is to bring that contract to the board to the May board meeting for approval.
Are there cost changes to the district, or it's just the preference of the supplier?
Pretty much just the preference.
What happens to all the old Under Armour gear?
Well, most of the Under Armour gear, like if it's team uniforms, those are just getting transitioned out as they're on a transition cycle every 3, 4, 5 years or so like that. So they would keep those Under Armours until it's time for them to renew their uniforms.
We keep the stuff and then
Yeah, we're not sending anything back, if that's what you're looking at. No, we
This is
keep
just
everything.
the new stuff.
Once
right?
it's time to get new stuff, though, it would be Nike instead of Under Armour.
Any other questions on BSN? Okay, ATI revised contract.
So as a reminder, ATI provides athletic trainers for the district. And so ATI contacted me requesting an increase to their contract, noting higher costs due to regulations that now require a master's degree instead of an undergraduate degree to be certified as an athletic trainer. This change came from the National Athletic Trainers Association and has recently been fully implemented. So as a reminder, we are completing the first year of a 3-year contract after going out to bid. The first year total for 2 athletic trainers was $95,000, which for most of the year they were not able to provide 2 trainers. ATI notes that they currently hire an athletic trainer for around $85,000. With referrals through our athletic program, they're able to offer a lower rate for 2 trainers, which is $65,000 per athletic trainer. So ATI would like to revise that contract to $130,000 per year. It is of note that the other bid submission from last year, which was our only other bid submission, was from Athletico at $131,000. Due to the last bid and the current market, which includes lots of school districts telling us that Athletico is leaving them and they're struggling to find athletic trainers, it's going to be administration's recommendation to approve the revised contract with ATI, and that would be coming to the board for approval in May.
so we're saving $15,000 per athletic trainer with you said from 80 to 65.
With the referral program, it's about $20,000 per athletic trainer.
What is the referral program?
So when an athlete gets injured and our athletic trainers are helping them out while they're at the district, then they get referred to a local ATI facility outside of the district, and that then obviously that ATI location is going to collect insurance and things like that, and so then they're able to reduce the costs here.
If their insurance does not cover ATI,
Um,
do you know?
I'm actually well, if they get injured here, either our insurance will cover a portion of that, or there's another portion that they would have to cover the rest of that. So if they don't have that insurance, then they would have to go someplace else.
Well, the referral program is based on the contract that lets our trainers send students to ATI, and it's not based on how many referrals are made or anything like that, right? It's just
The amount of the students that actually go. It's not based off of how the number. It's based off of which.
they have the ability to refer students.
Right.
Okay. And when they don't supply 2 trainers, are we paying?
We're not
only
paying for
one
them.
then? So it's a per trainer kind of thing on a monthly or weekly or whatever basis?
Right. We pay. We actually pay quarterly. No, we pay monthly. Sorry. It's a monthly bill. So if they're not providing 2 athletic trainers, we're only paying for the 1.
So it's a per trainer contract with up
Yes.
to 2 trainers, preferably 2 trainers.
Right.
Any other questions? And this is also for approval at the May meeting?
Yes.
All right. Purchase of 2 minivans for special education.
In preparation for incoming students next year, our special education department has budgeted into their IDEA grant this year the purchase of 2 minivans for a total of $55,000. Our transition program will have 3 additional students next year with a possibility of 2 more transitioning back from outplacements, and we'll also have 3 additional DLP students as well. So additionally, the transition program will be increasing their number of job sites, and the DLP program will be participating more regularly in the community-based instruction, which has not happened since pre-COVID. So with that need and the allocation from the IDEA grant, my intent is to try to find a couple of options in that price range for minivans and request the board to approve the purchase of those 2 used minivans at the May board meeting.
Back to the ATI contract for a minute. This is the revision of 2 years of our 3-year contract?
Correct.
Would it, based on the fact that trainers are hard to find, would it make sense to revise the contract to a new 3-year contract? So we have at least 3 years of training locked in?
We definitely could. There would be, our intent was a 2-year contract with the option for the next 2 years, which is what our current contract has. It has an option for 2 more years after that.
Okay, an option, at our option or at either option?
It's a partnership, so if they're okay with it and we're okay with it, then we extend.
If things get tight and they're not okay with it under the current circumstances, would it be better to do a fresh 3 years, so at least we have 3 years under a contract that we know what we're doing?
Sure, I have no problem with that.
I don't know, you have to see what the rest of the board thinks on that.
Yeah. My intent on that was also to ask for a flat rate of $130,000 for the next couple of years, and so there's no increase to that.
Sticks.
All right, thanks for suggesting that, Rich. Anything else on the minivans? All right, snow removal bid update.
So we had our bid opening last week. We received 6 bids from companies who attended the mandatory pre-bid meeting, and 1 bid from a company who did not attend that meeting. 4 of the 6 companies had calculation errors, and some of those errors were significant. Additionally, the responses were 60% higher than the last time we bid. So after speaking with legal counsel, the recommendation was to formally reject all the bids at the May board meeting and start over.
Sounds like that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
If they're submitting bids and there are errors in their bids, that's not good.
Yeah.
None of them went to school here.
Good point.
Not to my knowledge.
Before our time.
If
Before
they
our time, it's
had,
okay.
they would have been much better prepared. All right, and that brings us to IASB draft policies.
All right. The board received these policies with my log and comments on there. There are a couple suggestions that are separate from what press recommended, and I provided that to you in the log as well. But just to review for the board what those changes are. The first one is in policy 530. And it is a minor change of the word initiated to, the word performed to initiated to be aligned with the rest of the language in that policy. And then there is also a second recommendation that I bring forward too, and that is in policy 6230, and that is to remove the optional item number 7 that press included, which is a link to a third-party association. And then I did receive a comment from Rich about a change as well, which I think makes sense. So if you have reference to your policy in board books, if you go to policy 5:125, and when you go to that policy, it's page 18 if you're looking at the bottom of the PDF. So when you get there, for some reason, press struck out the word board in front of board policy 5:120. You see that in that little salmon colored, right? And that's a little unusual because in the rest of that very policy, it does refer to board policy as board policy. So it makes no sense to have the word board stricken out or stricken out from just that section. So we would recommend to keep that, just so that's consistent with the rest of the policy. So that's a good catch.
Good catch.
Rich. Other than that, we would adopt as is, or as we have received it from press. So, any questions? And again, this is under first reading, so.
So this would be a first reading
Yeah,
at the
first
May
reading,
meeting.
correct. And then second reading in June.
Any other questions or comments regarding the policies?
All of them? No, we will not do that.
When I first
Used
started,
to do that.
No.
when I started at 34, first and second reading was literally word for word every single policy. We got out after midnight sometimes.
Languages.
Yeah.
All right, that takes care of the open session business, and at this point, we will be needing to go to executive session for purposes of collective negotiating matters and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Roll call, please.